Turning to Ukraine now, where a push to rein in corruption has led to the arrest of one of the country's top oligarchs. He's being held in custody for 2 months on suspicion of fraud and money laundering. Dominic Velitis is following this story for us from London.
Yeah, morning, Ashley. Well, he's now being held in custody for 2 months on suspicion of money laundering and fraud. Specifically, it's alleged he transferred around $14 million out of Ukraine over a 7-year period using banks that he controlled. His legal team says he will not post bail, which has been set at nearly $14 million, and that he plans to appeal the court's ruling. Kolomoisky, though, is, as you say, one of Ukraine's most powerful oligarchs. He amassed huge industrial wealth following the collapse of the Soviet Union in the early 1990s. He has wide-ranging business interests. He's involved in oil, banking, and Ukrainian media. Indeed, he actually gave Volodymyr Zelensky his big break in television before going on to back him for the presidency. But last night, during his regular evening address, Zelensky appeared to allude to the case, saying there will be no more business as usual for those who plundered Ukraine and put themselves above the law. It's not the first time, Natalie, that the authorities have moved against Ihor Kolomoisky. In 2021, the United States placed him under sanctions for alleged corruption during his time as a governor. Last year, in November, the Ukrainian state invoked wartime laws to take control of several strategic companies that he was associated with. And then in February of this year, his home in Dnipro was raided as part of a separate investigation into embezzlement and tax evasion at 2 oil companies that he partially owned. Natalie.
Dominic, this appears to be part of sort of a larger anti-corruption push by the Ukrainian government. What more can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, fighting corruption in Ukraine has been a main priority for Volodymyr Zelensky really ever since he came to power in 2019. But since Russia invaded in February of last year, his government has been particularly keen to highlight its wartime crackdown on corruption whenever it can. And a big reason for that, Natalie, is that Ukraine, as you know, has applied to join the European Union, and eradicating corruption is widely seen as a key test that Ukraine has to pass before it can join. So Kyiv keen to signal progress on that front whenever it can. And Kolomoisky's case really marks the latest move in that big anti-corruption drive, which, should add, has targeted several other high-profile figures as well. Natalie.